What's going on? It's Ronnie Hicks Production. I'm back with another one. I just wanted to show you guys my dream setup. This is and has been for a long time my dream setup, but there's only one problem with it that I'm gonna let you guys know a little later on in the video. What you're looking at right now is the Sony A7S III. I have the G Master 24mm 1.4 lens within it, and then I also have the 50mm 1.2. This camera is my dream setup. Let's get a good look at it with the G Master lens in it, and I'm gonna tell you why it's my dream setup. Very nice camera here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be keeping it, and I'm going to tell you why, but I love everything about this camera. But let's go over a few specs. Many of you already know what this camera is capable of doing, a very good cinema-like camera. One of the first things I'll say about this camera is it has sharp, detailed 4K in 60 frames with no crop. Most cameras that you see on the market nowadays, they cannot shoot in full frame with no crop in 60 frames per second. This one can. This camera is the example of what cameras are trying to be like. This camera here is an example of what you see other manufacturers trying to go after and still can't compete. This camera came out in 2020 and still to this day, in February of 2024, no other camera manufacturer has been able to do what Sony has brought to the table. The only one I can think of who is kind of close is Canon with the R5, but it still, in my opinion, can't compete with this, because when you look at the Canon's 4K 120 frames per second and you compare it to this one is a lot better than what Canon is offering. It's a lot sharper, it's a lot more detailed 4K 120. Then it also has a 9.4 million dot EVS. Love that. It's so nice, it's so sharp, it's so clear. And tomorrow I'm gonna be shooting an event with this camera. So later on the channel, you guys will be able to see the video that I shot with this camera. I'm shooting a 40th birthday party event with this camera. But there's so many things to this camera, like 422 10-bit. I'm sure if you guys want to know all the specs in its entirety, you can go and look them up. You can go and look at other YouTube videos. They're a lot better at that than what I am. As I've mentioned, this is my dream setup, especially with the 50mm 1.2 lens. Let's just get a closer look at it. It's really nice. It feels good in the hand, a little weight to it, but that's good. Really nice camera. Let me just focus on there so you guys can see. Really good. Got my 24mm for the wide angle. It's really nice. Love this camera. In my opinion, you can't too much name another camera that could compete with this one. The only camera that I can think of, as I've mentioned, is the Canon R5, but soon they're about to come out with the R5 Mark II, and they're about to come out with the Sony A7 IV, which is the reason that I might not be keeping this camera. There's no reason to keep a camera that's this old. This one came out back in September of 2020. It's now pretty much 4 years later. Sony is about to release a new version of this camera, which will be the Sony A7 IV. So with that being said, I think that it's unnecessary to buy a camera this old when there's gonna be a new version of it and there's gonna be so many more updates to it. The R5 was an excellent camera as well, but if I had my choice to pick the Sony A7S III or the R5, I would go with the A7S III, and it also has excellent low light capability, and that's one of the things that I need, because I'm doing and filming all types of things. I'm filming everywhere. I'm filming all over the United States. I'm filming in so many different places, so many different environments, and I need my camera to be able to live up to whatever it is I'm trying to film, whether I want to slow something down, whatever it is I want to do, that sharp, crisp 4K image, whatever it is I want to do, I need for this camera to be able to handle that. If you guys go on YouTube, you will be able to look at a lot of cinematic footage that this camera has produced. But right now, let's take a look at this Sony 50mm lens. I've yet to take it out of the box, but let's take a look at it. So just for you to get a good look here, it comes in a nice case, and it should, because this lens is almost $2,000. It comes in a nice protective case. I'm gonna pop it open. Now, I've never shot or filmed with this lens, but what I can tell you from what I have seen, this is going to be a cinematic beast. 1.2 aperture, 50mm lens. This bad boy is nice. This is the best of what Sony is offering, this G Master. Sigma has some really nice lenses too, and I kind of think it's unnecessary to spend this much money when you can go to somebody like Sigma and buy the lens for several $100s less, in some cases $1,000 less. But Sigma does not make a 50mm 1.2. Really nice lens. You guys could take a good look at it. Really nice. This is an excellent lens, some of Sony's best work. So as I mentioned before, in my opinion, there's no other camera that can compete with this one. This is at the apex of cameras. When you look at what Panasonic's doing, and you look at all of these different camera brands, I've watched cameras for years since this came out. None of them can compete with this. And the reason that I say that, look at the low light capability. Look at the no compromising on the frame rate. It doesn't crop. Look at the 4K 60. Look at the 4K 120. Not to mention the excellent autofocus that it has. It does not miss. I'll let you guys see what this camera looks like with this lens on it, the 50mm. This bad boy is a beast. And again, I may not be keeping this camera because I'd rather put my money to what Sony is gonna bring later. It makes no sense for me to keep this camera when the Sony A7S IV is right around the corner. And I'm sure that that camera will have a 6K sensor downsample to 4K, which will give you a lot more crisp, sharp, in detail resolution. Really nice camera here, really nice lens. This is great. It does have a 12 megapixel sensor, which is good enough. Personally, I was hoping that it would be a little higher back when this camera first came out. And that's the thing that I like about the Canon R5. The Canon R5 has a 45 megapixel sensor. This one's only 12. And that 45 megapixel sensor, that's something that I need because I am a true hybrid shooter. So if you guys like some of the equipment that I show you that I use, go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm gonna be going many more places. I'm gonna be doing many more films. I'm going to take this channel up and up and up. You will see what this channel will evolve into. This is Ronnie Hicks Production. Peace.